Hi, welcome. Today's question is a bit of a long one, but that's the way they go because that's how I put them together. I work with what is brought to me. So today's question is, what advice on life would you give yourself if you were your own mother? So if you were your own mother and you're looking back, what advice would you give yourself, knowing that there's nothing but love and happiness that you want for your child? What would that advice be? And it's quite an interesting question to pose as well, particularly as a lot of the work that I'm doing is focusing on women's well-being, and part of that reason is we can only give what we've learned. We can only pass on what we have received. If we have to individually make a choice at some stage in our life that we have received what only a person can give us in that amount, and then we can make a decision about how we are going to empower ourselves, how we're going to gain greater knowledge. And this is through, this is looked at work through Orbach, in fact, is feminist, because for generations and generations, remember, we're only the first or second generation of women who are stepping in to the workplace, who are really moving away from the home, even though it's still a choice about how people want to operate. It's about stepping into your own essence, your own inner truth, and moving forward in that. So, if we look at kind of the way the world is structured and has been structured for thousands of years, there has been a hierarchy of understanding where people come into that. And within that, the structure of how women operate can be in the non-dominant group, as the way the structure is, or the way Miller describes it in her work. There's the dominant group, this is the way we do it, and then there's the non-dominated group that's not always valued but seen to be the part where you're meant to be more relationship orchestrated. But there's no doubt that within the economies of thousands of years, we have been individually structured towards survival, and survival is about staying within our group, looking for survival, and that can be different. Now, it will be different for different cultures, it will be different for different women. It can go down to our age in terms of what we're facing, our cultures, our experiences, and things happening for a reason. They're not excuses, but things can happen for a reason. So that it's about looking at this in a way that we can be individually compassionate towards ourselves first and always. So that would be kind of my motherly advice back to myself, about being compassionate towards myself. Stop being so hard on myself, because that I get that back. I get told that I'm constantly very hard on myself, constantly focused on trying to be not perfect, I wouldn't say, because I'm definitely not perfect, but actually no, there's a really good story behind that, because I won't wear white, and I love white. I'd love to be able to wear white, but I can never keep it clean. I just drop something on it all the time, and I always feel like the way to best handle that is to avoid it, because when I do wear something really nice and white, I give myself a really hard time when I ruin it, and I literally do ruin white clothes. I've dropped beetroot, chocolate, all sorts of things very quickly on it. So it's about learning to be compassionate with myself around that, because we can only be the best mother to ourselves, and at a point in time we grow up, we move out, we have to individuate. But the point that I want to bring our focus on is that in some respects this is new territory for many of us, or it's a new way of expressing what we love to do rather than doing what we think we should be doing based on what is we are being told, either unconsciously by ourselves, in our family community, or wider societal change as well. So this is about taking that back in and saying, well, you know what, those people loved me, they did the best that they could for me. I was exposed to things, now I'm at a certain stage, and actually maybe what I'm doing isn't aligning to the truth of who I was, which is the way I felt at one point within my career, and actually I need to take responsibility for that, and what do I need to change within myself, and how do I mother myself, or start to take that responsibility for myself, so that I can be able to move forward and to be open and to be curious, and to start to recognize the importance of other people's needs and my contribution to supporting somebody else's needs, because we cannot replace or fix another person's needs, but recognizing that the first person we do respect, nurture and meet the needs is that of ourselves. And actually by meeting our needs, by supporting oneself first, that then demonstrates to another person how they can do it for themselves as well. Because it's really important. We can help support people, we can't help people, and we certainly cannot meet the needs of another person. But though we can demonstrate how we can meet our needs, and then that provides them choice about whether they're going to get on board or whether they're going to move off in a different direction. So it's about being willing to update our information all the time, to being willing to being open. And it is a lifetime journey. It is not a destination, as I'm realizing as I go back around the circle. It's like the individual level, sorting out ourselves, and then looking at the wider perspective, and then it's ripple effects out. So it's being willing to be open, to have an open heart, to have an open mind, to being curious, and at the same time being quiet. So I invite you to use the Just Stop lesson today to look at updating your information, and maybe ask yourself or reflect on the following questions in terms of, are you operating under the influence of an outdated model? So are you making decisions based on old values or perceptions about how things should be, rather than getting grounded? Remember, getting grounded means knowing that you have the ability to think, that you have the ability to feel, that you can move, physically move, and that everybody else has that opportunity as well, and that you are making decisions consciously from a grounded perspective and an aligned perspective. So are you making decisions based on values that are outdated? And this is something that we really incorporate in the MAP process, so that we can start to balance our mind and our hearts, recognizing that we are influenced by other people's values and societal values as well, and that we have our own values, because they will continually change based on the experiences that we've had as we grow. So our parents teach us values that keep us safe, and then as we move through the world, we gain our own experiences, so our values change. So I'll give a really broad example of that. The furthest I ever went on a summer holiday or a foreign vacation when I was growing up was a pilgrimage to Lourdes, apart from trips to England, but a pilgrimage to Lourdes. And when I moved to England, my friends used to say I was terrified of anything. Since then, I've travelled around the world a couple of times, and I spent 3 months in South America on my own, and I still don't speak Spanish. And one of my friends commented on it, that, you know, the whole experience is just totally different. So when I make decisions, or when I look at a perception of information, I've had conversations then with my own mother where she's telling me to do things, and then sometimes the guard just drops and she'll just look at me and she goes, I don't know why I'm telling you, you've had totally different experiences, you've a totally different view of the world, and you've experienced more of what I've experienced because I've only seen it through the TV where you've been there. So that's kind of, so my values have to update that. Even though I take on board some of the real core values they've taught me, I have to be open to all of the other information that I've received and the other experiences that I've had. Sometimes that's challenging because it means actually taking people off a pedestal and starting to put yourself in that position of ownership, of responsibility for the decisions that you are making. So this is about opening your heart to learning, and opening heart to the fact that you may know more than you think. You may be stronger than you think. You may be stronger than you feel sometimes. And that it is okay to make mistakes. It's okay to learn from the mistakes. That's how we learn. We learn from our mistakes. We learn from our failures. And being open to saying, well, I'm wrong. I didn't have the skills and experiences that I had then, but now that I've seen it from a different perspective, I can take that forward. So it's about being willing to engage with life, and willing to engage with the curiosity of who you are. And one final way to demonstrate this, and I'll use my own personal experience, is that I used to give myself a terrible time when I first started in work, and particularly my career. I used to feel I was really slow, and you know, I wouldn't kind of pick things up as maybe it'd take me a few goes to get things. And also I was really sensitive to anything to do with the way I wrote my English grammar or the way that I would write things. And I found through my career that at several points people did use that against me, you know, or not, would like really challenge me with it, saying, well, you can't do this job because your grammar is not good enough, etc. And I took that quite to heart. But one of the first things I did when I resigned was I looked at it. I got really curious about it. I was like, you know, if I can speak and people are paying me to speak, then why, if I'm speaking okay, can I write? And particularly through sailing and through a lot of the other work and other really good people I worked with, I started to recognize that I was able to take large bits of information and then turn it into something that was simple, that all people could understand. And I remember one of my mentors saying to me, you know, it takes you a bit longer, but when you come up with something, it really works. So that's okay. That's just the way you work. Most people will not take that long to do that. And it wasn't until I ran the project and I found out that I had a form of dyslexia that suddenly all that weight lifted, because I was like, oh, so I've been making more of a mistake trying to do things because I'm trying to keep up with a group I can't keep up with, whereas actually that group can't really keep up with me if I stick to what I'm good at. So I started to take that weight off my shoulder, recognize that in some ways I had been responsible for putting myself into jobs and roles based on what I thought I should be doing and what I felt would be right for meeting other people's needs, and started to recognize that I need to focus on actually what are my qualities, where am I best focused, and how do I bring that in and really get more comfortable that I'm a different person and I'm not always going to get approval or get what I need from these people if I just keep doing what they want me to do, rather than actually get back into what I want to do and actually be okay that I want to do something that is different, that might not be okay for other people. And that just changed the whole game. More often than not, I'm a really proud Irish person. I'm never going to be able to speak Irish, yay. So, you know, it's things like this that we need to start to admit we're wrong or we make mistakes, so that there's certain things we just cannot do, and that's okay because we're really good at other things, and to focus on what those other things are. So that would be my advice to myself, is that you learned a lesson, you made a mistake, learn from it, move on, and do it with compassion, loving care and curiosity. So that's where I'm going to leave it for today. Remember, the first person one leads is oneself, mind, body and spirit. So at Granuaile's bespoke training and mentoring company, we work with creative and entrepreneurial women who are overwhelmed, lacking confidence, seeking to understand their personal landscape and their vision for the future. And what we do is we share with them our key framework called the MAP, which works through mastery, action and passion. And the first step in the MAP program is getting clear on heartfelt intentions, getting clear on the truth of who you are and aligning to that. So if that is of interest, please join our free webinar. We run it on Thursdays at 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. It's a masterclass in intention setting. So the link will be below. If you would like to be to find out more information about the MAP, as we will be launching it digitally over the next month, please do subscribe to our lead magnet, which will give more information about the MAP and also a sense of what kind of work we'll be doing within that course, and so that you can be kept up to date of details. So till then, have a wonderful, wonderful Thursday where you are. If you've liked this video, please like, subscribe and share it. That would be greatly appreciated. And otherwise, have a great weekend and I'll talk to you soon.